Hi, I'm really excited to share my mica card with you. I have a whole set of mica powders that I purchased, and they're one of those things that I forget that I have, and so I wanted to make it a point to purposely create with it. So I created a background, and I'm actually going to color a little bit with the mica powder as well. To start out, let's grab our photo paper. This is 4x6 photo paper. You could use glossy cardstock too, that should work. Now I'm just going to take some of my spray adhesive. I use Pixie Spray. This is typically something you would spray on the back of your stencil and then put the stencil on your paper. But for this particular technique, I want to spray my entire panel so that the mica powder has something to stick to. All right, so now that we've got that sprayed, I'm going to actually add a little bit of, you could use paste, you could use glaze of some sort, you could use all kinds of things for this next step. But what I chose to use was just some of my Nuvo crystal drops. They worked out good and it didn't make a huge mess for what I wanted to do. So I just went ahead and, this one is called Ivory Seashell. So I just went ahead and squirted some of this along, I went around the edges a little bit and then across the middle. Okay, so now that I've got my product on, I just want to work it through all of the little crevices of my stencil design. And then I'm just gonna use my spatula or whatever you've got. I've got, I like this tool right here, to just kind of scrape that and work that into those crevices, like I said, and to remove the excess. So go ahead and peel your stencil off immediately. You don't want it to dry if your stencil dries with your product underneath it, then it will probably rip your paper. So anyway, I take that off right away and I actually throw my stencil in some water so that it's easy to clean up later. So then I'm going to let it dry just a little bit, but it doesn't have to be fully dry, just for the most part. And then I am going to go ahead and get out my mica powder now. I chose two different colors. I wanted a lighter shade and a darker shade of pink, so I've got a couple of them here. And I'm going to start with my lighter shade. And I'm just going to sprinkle the mica powder onto my stenciled card panel. And then I'm just going to use I'm using this really large brush to cover the surface and just kind of dust all of the excess into, I have a little embossing powder tray that works great for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of burnish it in as I go, just so that we've got a nice, good coverage on our card panel. So I'm going to set that aside for just a moment, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab this floral stamp set. This is from Pink and Main. I'm going to use embossing ink with this. This happens to be Versamark. And I'm going to stamp my image. So I've got my image all inked up, and I'm going to just add some of our excess mica powder from what we brushed into our embossing tray. I'm going to use that big brush again to get the base of our color on there. Now that I've got a good coat on, I'm going to use my shadow brush to just dip into the mica powder and just add a little bit of depth to our flowers. I went basically to the bases of the flower as best I could. It's a very loose technique. Don't get too uptight about it. I'm kind of pushing it into the paper. And then I'm just going to go ahead and brush off the excess with my big brush. So now I don't have a whole lot of powder left in my tray, but what I do have, I'm going to add a little water to it, and I'm going to use that shadow brush again, and I'm going to flick some little splatters of this mica water mixture over my card panel and over my flowers. You can do as little or as much as you like. I like quite a bit on mine. tear along one of the short ends of your stenciled panel. I didn't tear a huge strip off. I would say that I tore maybe a 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more off. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more of our mixture. I'm going to use that shadow brush again to just add just some more distress to the edges of our panels. And then I trimmed my card panel from the tips of the peaks of the tear to be about 3 1/4 inches by 4 inches. And then I'm going to take, so you can see I've got 2 pieces here now, and I'm going to take the shorter end and I'm going to mount that on my card panel. And then we'll bring that torn edge up to kind of lay across that so it overlaps. So when you're lining up your panels to your card base, you're going to want to leave approximately a 1/4 inch around. Okay, let's get back to our stamped images. Now it's time to put the overlay that has all of our leaves and all of the details of our flowers, and they line up really easily. I'm going to use Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink to do so. And I thought this was a really forgiving set, so that made things a lot easier. I'm going to use Minty Fresh ink by Simon Hurley to add the leaves. Now that we've got our flower all stamped, let's go ahead and fussy cut that. Typically, I don't use the Distress Oxide ink a lot for sentiments, but I liked them for this particular one because I wanted to keep the sentiment light and to keep it from overpowering the rest of the card. I also used tracing paper as opposed to vellum paper just because it is so lightweight and so sheer. I didn't want to have a lot of weight to it. I wanted the background of our card and all of that fun mica powder and everything. I wanted that to be the star of the show. Then go ahead and just assemble your card. You can play with the different blossoms. You could add more or just have one. And I cut leaves in different ways. I don't always cut out all of the leaves. Sometimes I just cut out some of the leaves, but just play with it and have fun. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel and catch me on Instagram at Crafty Shenanigans, as well as my blog. And you can also follow me on Pinterest. Happy crafting. Thanks so much.